Welcome to my channel, Worth Old Coins. Today is best top 3 coins. Please don't skip this video, so let's get it started. Top 1. The 1971 10-pence coin, bearing the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, is not merely a piece of British currency. It represents a fascinating chapter in the nation's transition from the traditional pounds, shillings, and pence system to the modern decimal currency. This shift occurred officially on Decimal Day, the 15th of February 1971, a date still remembered by historians and coin collectors as a turning point in British monetary history. The coin itself is made from Q-Pro nickel, 75% copper, and 25% nickel, giving it a silvery appearance and considerable durability. Weighing about 11.31 grams with a diameter of 28.5 millimeters and a thickness of 2.5 millimeters. The obverse front features the elegant second portrait of Queen Elizabeth II by sculptor Arnold McKin-Raw, introduced in 1968, showing the young queen wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, a delicate piece gifted to her grandmother, Queen Mary, in 1893, and passed down through the royal family. Around the edge of this portrait, the Latin inscription reads Elizabeth II, DG Reg, FD 1971 De Gratia Regina Fidei, Defensor, which translates to Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith, reflecting the monarch's constitutional and spiritual roles. Turning the coin over reveals the reverse design created by the talented artist Christopher Ironside, chosen through a public competition organized by the Royal Mint. This side prominently displays a crowned lion passant guardant, a heraldic lion walking with the right forepaw raised and facing outward, crowned with the royal crown, a powerful emblem derived from England's royal arms dating back centuries. The inscription simply reads New Pence above and the denomination 10 below, making it clear and accessible during the period of currency changeover when the public had to adjust from the old system of 240 pence to a pound to the new decimal system of 100 new pence to a pound. At the time, the 10-pence coin was introduced to replace the old 2 shillings or florin coin, which held the same value but was traditionally slightly different in design. Collectors appreciate the 1971 issue not only because it was the first decimal 10-pence struck for circulation, but also because it marks the very first year of full-scale decimal currency use in the UK, although hundreds of millions were minted to ensure smooth circulation and widespread public adoption, making the coin common in terms of rarity. Its historical significance keeps it interesting for numismatists and enthusiasts alike. The coin was legal tender for any amount up to £5 until 1992, when the large-size 10-pence was demonetized and replaced by a smaller, lighter version, measuring 24.5 millimeters in diameter and weighing 6.5 grams, designed to match the size of other coins and make daily transactions easier. Nevertheless, the original large 1971 10-pence remains a nostalgic piece for many Britons who remember the era of decimal change. Tea sets with decimal posters in kitchens and schools teaching children how to use the new money. The coin's production and the massive national education campaign around decimalization reflect how deeply currency shapes a nation's cultural memory and everyday life. The decision to keep the crowned lion as the main symbol was part of an effort to combine modern utility with a sense of historical continuity, maintaining symbols of monarchy and tradition even as the currency system modernized. Over the years, the 1971 10-pence has been featured in countless collections, books, and even school lessons, representing not just money but an emblem of a country's adaptability, heritage, and identity. Some coins from this year remain in beautiful, uncirculated, or proof condition, often presented in official Royal Mint sets. Prized for their crisp details and shining luster that showcase the skill of British minting during the late 20th century. The 1971 10-pence Queen Elizabeth II coin is much more than a simple piece of metal. It is a small, enduring witness to Britain's embrace of decimal currency. The steady presence of the Queen through decades of change, and the careful blend of tradition and modernity that characterizes British coinage. It speaks to collectors and historians alike as a tangible reminder of a pivotal moment when a centuries-old monetary system evolved, marking the start of a new era in Britain's economic and cultural life. Holding it, you can almost hear echoes of bustling markets, schoolchildren learning to count in new pence, and a nation carefully balancing its rich history with the need for progress. Top 2. The 1968 10-pence coin featuring Queen Elizabeth II holds a special place in the history of British coinage, as it was among the very first decimal coins ever issued. 2.5 years before the official decimal day on the 15th of February 1971, the UK had long used the old system of pounds, shillings, and pence, famously complex, where a pound equaled 20 shillings and each shilling was worth 12 pence, but by the 1960s, modernization pressures, growing international trade, and the desire for simplicity led to plans to move to a decimal system, where 1 pound would equal 100 new pence. The 1968 10-pence coin, along with the 5-pence coin released the same year, played a pioneering role in this enormous national change, allowing people to get used to the new denominations ahead of time. Minted in cupronickel, 75% copper, 25% nickel, the coin weighs about 11.31 grams, has a diameter of 28.5 millimeters, and a thickness of roughly 2.5 millimeters, making it roughly the same size and weight as the older 2 shillings florin coin, which it effectively replaced in value, thus easing public acceptance. On the obverse front of the coin appears the elegant portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, sculpted by Arnold Ra, introduced in 1968 and used until 1984. This portrait shows the young Queen crowned with the girls of Great Britain and Ireland, tiara, an heirloom once belonging to Queen Mary. Around her head, the Latin legend reads Elizabeth II, DG Reg. F. D. 1968, which stands for Elizabeth II, De Gratia Regina Fidei Defensor, meaning Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith. This inscription is a reflection of her constitutional role and religious title as Supreme Governor of the Church of England. While the tiara itself adds a touch of regal grace that remains beloved among collectors, the reverse of the Massey 6810 pence coin was created by the talented British designer Christopher Ironside, chosen through a royal mint competition to design the new decimal coins. His design features a majestic lion-passant garden crowned with a royal crown, a heraldic image rooted deep in English history, symbolizing courage, sovereignty, and tradition. Above this lion, the legend New Pence appears, and below it the denomination 10 at the time. The word new was important to distinguish these decimal coins from the older pre-decimal currency, which would remain in circulation until full decimalization in 1971. The choice of the crowned lion was deliberate, connecting the modern coin to centuries of royal heraldry and national identity. Historically, the 1968 10-pence is significant, not only because it predates decimal day, but also because it served as a bridge between two worlds, the centuries-old pre-decimal monetary system and the modern decimal currency Britain still uses today. Its large size, silver-like appearance, and strong copper-nickel composition meant it could circulate for decades, often passed through thousands of hands before being withdrawn in 1992, when the large-size 10-pence coins were replaced by smaller, lighter versions measuring just 24.5 millimeters in diameter to better match other coins and simplify daily transactions. Collectors see the 1968 issue as historic because it was the very first date of the decimal 10-pence, making it a must-have for anyone. Building a complete decimal collection, many were struck in large numbers for circulation, and some in brilliant uncirculated and proof sets from the Royal Mint, which preserve the sharp detail of Ironside's lion and Machine's graceful portrait. In these high-quality coins, tiny details like the texture of the lion's mane, the fine points of the tiara, and the clear lettering of the inscription become especially striking, revealing the craftsmanship of British minting during the late 1960s. Beyond numismatics, the coin reflects a broader cultural moment when Britain, entering the jet age, the space race, and the era of modern consumerism, sought to update its national symbols while still honoring its past. Decimalization posters hung in shops, schools taught children about the new money, and TV and radio. Campaigns prepared the public for change, all while coins like the 1968 10 pence quietly circulated, tangible tokens of a nation modernizing, yet rooted in tradition. Today, the 1968 10 pence Queen Elizabeth II coin stands as a small but enduring monument to this transition. Holding it, one can almost imagine the anticipation and curiosity of Britons in the late 1960s, learning to think in new pence and balancing the excitement of the future with affection for the familiar past. In this single coin, the timelessness of royal symbolism, the modern vision of a decimal currency, and the careful artistry of the Royal Mint all come together, telling a story of heritage, identity, and change that continues to resonate decades later. Top 3. The 2005 10 pence coin, bearing the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, is a fascinating piece of modern British numismatic history, representing a moment when the country's coinage stood at the crossroads between tradition and subtle change. By 2005, the 10 pence coin was already an established part of everyday British life, having evolved since its first issue in 1968, when it replaced the old 2 shillings piece as part of decimalization. The 2005 coin, minted in copper nickel, an alloy of 75% copper and 25% nickel, weighs 6.5 grams, has a diameter of 24.5 millimeters, and a thickness of around 1.85 millimeters, a smaller and lighter design. Introduced in 1992 to better fit modern pockets and coin machines, reflecting society's demand for practicality and efficiency. On the obverse front, the coin features the 4th definitive portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by sculptor Ian Rank, broadly FRBS, and introduced in 1998. This portrait marked a departure from earlier, more idealized images of the Queen. It shows her wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, but with a more mature, realistic expression, complete with subtle signs of age, which was widely praised for its dignity and honesty. The legend encircling the portrait reads Elizabeth to D.G. Reg, FD 2005, which means Elizabeth II. By the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith. The rank broadly effigy is notable for its artistic boldness. The head is larger and occupies more of the coin's surface than previous portraits, emphasizing both the Queen's enduring presence and the human reality of her long reign. Turning to the reverse, the design remains the iconic crowned lion passant gardent by Doug D. by Christopher Ironside, first used on the 10 pence coin in 1968. The lion, shown walking with its right forepaw raised and facing outward, wears the royal crown, symbolizing England's royal authority, courage, and history. The words 10 pence appear in clear modern lettering, with the number 10 below, striking a balance between clarity and tradition. Although the design remained unchanged since decimalization, its continued use into 2005 shows Britain's careful approach to numismatic tradition, the desire to keep familiar heraldic imagery while still adapting coins to the practical realities of everyday transactions. In terms of cultural context, the 2005 10 pence coin circulated at a time of significant national reflection and change. The early 2000s saw Britain navigating its place in the world after the turn of the millennium. Debates about the monarchy's modern role and changes in daily life shaped by globalization and technology. Coins like this quietly carried centuries of heritage into modern pockets, linking each cup of tea paid for, each newspaper bought, or each bus ride taken to the shared symbols of national identity, though hundreds of millions were minted for circulation in 2005, making the date common in everyday change. Collectors appreciate the coin for its place in the story of the fourth portrait era. Some 2005 10-pence coins survive in brilliant, uncirculated, or proof condition, often as part of Royal Mint annual sets, where the mirror-like fields and frosted designs reveal fine details like the lion's textured mane and the delicate points of the Queen's tiara. These versions capture the artistry and high minting standards of the Royal Mint during the early 21st century. In 2008, just 3 years later, the Royal Mint would introduce a completely new reverse design for the 10-pence part of the revolutionary Royal Shield series by designer Matthew Dent, which created a single image of the royal arms when the 6 smaller denominations were placed together like puzzle pieces. This makes the 2005 10-pence part of the final years of the classic crowned lion design, which had symbolized Britain's post-decimalization coins for 4 decades. As such, it stands as a nostalgic reminder of an era in which coins combined royal heraldry with everyday utility, representing both history and the living present. Ultimately, the 2005 10-pence Queen Elizabeth II coin is far more than just a means to buy something worth 10 pence. It is a small piece of living heritage. It carries the story of decimalization for generations of the Queen's portraits, the evolution of minting technology, and the quiet endurance of national symbols that span centuries. Holding it, one feels connected to millions of hands. It passed through each cup of tea, each newspaper, each everyday moment made possible by a small disc of metal that silently tells Britain's story of change and continuity. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe my channel for more videos.